And I want to talk to you about a serious subject. 1 out of every 6 law enforcement officers who are killed by a gun are shot with an assault weapon. For Marvin Miller, that's more than just a shocking statistic. For behind that statistic, for him, is a face. The face of his son, 41-year-old FBI agent Mike Miller. Agent Miller was one of the law enforcement officers who was killed inside the Washington, D.C. police headquarters just 22 months ago when a gunman walked in with a 9mm military-style assault weapon and started shooting. Agent Miller left behind a wife, a son, and a daughter. And fellow delegates, I'd like you to listen to what Agent Miller's dad has to say.
They will see the advantages that we had in the older days where we could walk the streets at night. We didn't have to be concerned that somebody's going to pull up beside your car at the stop sign and shoot you with an automatic weapon of some kind just because you looked them in the eye.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Clinton, the Democratic Congress, and all of you agree with Mr. Miller. That's why we fought the gun lobby and passed a ban on assault weapons. And that's why a Robert Dole White House and a Gingrich Congress will try to overturn that assault weapons ban. Listen to what they say. They say assault weapons don't pose any special risk to police officers. Well, I'd like them to just ask Mr. Miller whether he agrees with that. We agree with Mr. Miller. That's why we passed the 1994 crime law that has already put 44,000 new police officers on our streets doing community policing. And I might add, paid for with no new taxes, but by reducing the federal workforce by 225,000 people. Ladies and gentlemen, it's no coincidence that crime rates for adults and juveniles have dropped since Bill Clinton has become President of the United States of America. We also agree with Agent Miller's dad, and that's why I wrote the Violence Against Women legislation and why President Clinton signed it into law. He is the first president of the United States that has ever said, no man has a right to lay a hand on a woman, period. Period. And as I listened to the Republican convention and heard them talk about the Violence Against Women Act, I almost forgot that they voted against the Violence Against Women Act, and Bob Dole voted against the act that contained the Violence Against Women law. And all during this last year, Tom Daschle, leading us in the Senate, has fought back Gingrich, Dole initiatives to gut the Violence Against Women legislation. We also agree with Agent Miller's dad, and that's why we'll continue to get tough with kids who break the law, gang members and other young people who commit violent crimes will do jail time. We'll not allow young thugs to terrorize our neighborhoods. But ladies and gentlemen, 95% of all youthful crime is nonviolent. These nonviolent offenders must learn after their first encounter with the law that crime is morally wrong and will not be tolerated. Under Bill Clinton's leadership, we put nonviolent offenders to work, cleaning vacant lots, painting over graffiti, requiring them to make restitution. They must know that crime will not be tolerated. But we also help, as Jesse Jackson spoke about, young people avoid crime, avoid drugs and violence in the first place, by helping communities create after-school safe havens like boys' clubs and girls' clubs. But Republicans characterize this as wasteful social spending. They propose spending trillions of dollars on Star Wars to fight an enemy that does not exist, while we propose spending millions of dollars on alternatives to crime, protecting our children against real enemies. Protecting our children against gangs, the pushers, the sexual predators, the gun-wielding criminals who threaten young people every day. We, the Democrats, propose alternatives to the streets, like safe and drug-free schools, helping communities open drug courts, funding mandatory drug testing and drug treatment through the courts, so that when young offenders leave the justice system, they leave their addictions behind them and not take them with them. Ladies and gentlemen, our Family First agenda, our Family's First agenda will not turn back. We will not step back from the commitment we have made to the American people to give them safe streets, safe homes, and safe schools. There is more to do. There is more to do, but much has been done. And let me conclude by saying to you, and I want you to listen to this, I have had the pleasure of having the endorsement of every major police organization in the country for the last 15 years. And I'm here to tell you one thing. Bill Clinton is the best friend cops in America have ever had. And Bill Clinton is the best friend the American people have ever had when it comes to doing something about making our streets safer. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Lynn Rivers of Ann Arbor, Michigan, a woman who understands the challenges of American families and the families' difficulties they face. Ladies and gentlemen, Lynn Rivers.
Healthcare and education are two of the most important things to children today. And if a parent can't provide one or the other, it hurts the parent. It almost feels like you're lacking no matter how hard we try.